heavily armed dog walked straight into FBI headquarters, carrying an unconscious child on his back. No ID, no handler, no warning. What they discovered next would uncover a secret so horrifying, it shook the Bureau to its core. And it all started with a dog who broke his orders. The morning had barely begun, but Special Agent Erica Sloan was already on her third cup of coffee, the bitter kind, lukewarm and forgotten on her desk. Outside her office window, the Denver skyline glowed under a crisp spring sun, but inside the FBI's Child Abduction Task Force, the air was heavy, heavier than usual. Erica, 42, a seasoned agent with eyes that had seen far too much, sat alone reviewing a set of files no one wanted to connect. 4 missing children, 4 families destroyed, 4 innocent faces staring back at her from case folders with no leads and no hope. All within 2 months, all between the ages of 6 and 12, all gone without a trace. But what disturbed her wasn't just the disappearances, it was the pattern. Each child had last been seen with someone familiar, a family friend, a coach, a neighbor, not strangers. There were no ransom notes, no public outcry from kidnappers. It was like the children had simply vanished. She leaned back, rubbing her temples. Deep down, her instincts, honed over 2 decades of chasing ghosts, were screaming. Something wasn't right. And the worst part? No one else seemed to feel it. Local authorities had brushed them off as runaways. Kids get restless, they said. They come back. But these kids didn't, and Erica knew they wouldn't. She was about to reach for another file when the building's emergency alert jolted her out of her thoughts. Not the fire alarm, not the tornado warning. It was something different. A low vibrating tone pulsing through the walls. Unauthorized biometric access. Her eyes narrowed. That system couldn't be tripped by accident. Someone or something had just bypassed 3 levels of federal security. Erica was already on her feet before the intercom finished speaking. In her gut, she felt it. This wasn't random. Something or someone had just come to them. And deep down she knew this was connected to the children. Erica moved fast, her heels echoing against polished floors as she exited the elevator into the main lobby. The building's security team had already formed a wide perimeter, weapons holstered, but hands twitching near their sides. The tension in the air was sharp enough to cut skin. Then she saw him. In the center of the room, beneath the shafts of light pouring in through the atrium windows, sat a Belgian Malinois, enormous, unmoving. His chest rose and fell slowly, steady as stone. His coat was scratched and matted in places, but he held himself with unmistakable authority, like he had once stood beside soldiers, not civilians. His military vest, though worn and faded, still bore remnants of a torn-off patch. A dog of war, no doubt. But it wasn't the dog that turned Erica's breath to ice. It was the boy draped across his back. A child, limp, fragile, no older than 9. Pale skin. Dried blood smeared across the collar of a gray shirt. Rope burns around both wrists. His bare feet dangled off the dog's flanks, toes ghosting the floor. For a moment, Erica forgot to breathe. The agents had been right to freeze. This was nothing they'd trained for. No one moved, no one dared. And still, the dog didn't growl, didn't bare teeth. He just sat, head high, posture alert, gaze darting from face to face, judging, measuring, protecting. Erica stepped forward slowly, palms open, crouching low. The dog's ears twitched, his amber eyes locked onto hers. She could almost feel his thoughts. Cold calculation behind a calm exterior. "Easy," she murmured, her voice just above a whisper. "No one's gonna hurt him." The dog didn't flinch, but his gaze softened, just enough. She stopped a few feet away, close enough now to see the dried sweat on the boy's temples, the unnatural slack in his body. He was sedated, not unconscious, still breathing, but barely. His face, even in stillness, looked like it had been through fire and fear. Erica glanced up at the cameras ringing the lobby. "How did he get in?" she asked, mostly to herself. Officer Lang, the head of building security, answered behind her breathlessly. Walked through 3 biometric doors, didn't trigger anything. It was like he had clearance. "Dogs don't just walk into federal buildings carrying children," Erica said, eyes fixed on the pair. "Not unless they know where they're going." The dog shifted, almost imperceptibly. Then, with impossible care, he lowered himself to the cool marble floor, cradling the boy so gently that his body barely stirred. Something about the motion made Erica's throat tighten. There was no panic in him, no desperation. Just purpose. "You brought him to us, didn't you?" she said softly, her voice cracking without permission. The dog blinked slowly. Then, in a gesture that felt impossibly human, he gave a single deliberate nod. Her heart swelled. In 2 decades at the Bureau, she had seen men with medals break under pressure. But this animal, this soldier, had carried a child through a city, past sirens and strangers, to the one place where help still meant something. "Good boy," she whispered, eyes glistening. The dog didn't wag his tail. He didn't need to. He had already completed his mission. Paramedics arrived within minutes, guided by Erica's sharp orders. The Belgian Malinois didn't move. He simply shifted his weight just enough to let them approach the boy, but never left his side. His eyes followed every hand, every tool, as if weighing the medic's intent with military precision. The boy, Theo, as they'd later learn, was still unconscious, but breathing on his own. One of the medics lifted his shirt, and the air in the room changed. Across his lower abdomen was a fresh, surgically precise incision, closed loosely with medical tape. No infection, no bruising, no violence, just quiet, calculated preparation. Near his elbow, an IV catheter dangled, still secured by a strip of hospital-grade adhesive. "This wasn't done in someone's basement," one paramedic muttered. "This is clinical, sterile, recent." Erica's stomach turned. This wasn't the aftermath of abuse. It wasn't random. This child wasn't being harmed for cruelty. He was being prepared. Theo's body told a story, not of trauma and chaos, but of procedures, timelines, plans. His vitals were slow but steady. The sedatives in his system had been administered with care, calculated dosages, not torture, processing. Erica locked eyes with the dog once more. He hadn't just rescued a boy. He had interrupted a process, something colder than kidnapping and far more methodical. Whatever Theo had been pulled from wasn't finished, and someone, somewhere, was waiting for him to come back. Theo didn't stir for hours. The medical team worked around the clock, stabilizing his vitals and flushing the sedatives from his system. Kane never moved from his side. Not once. He sat with unwavering stillness, his massive frame curled protectively near the hospital gurney, eyes fixed on the boy's face as if willing him to wake. Erica watched from the hallway, arms crossed tightly over her chest. The incision, the sedation, the IV. She couldn't shake it. This wasn't a rescue from a kidnapper's basement. This was something else, something far more coordinated and far more monstrous. Then, just past midnight, Theo moved. A soft rustle of sheets. A sharp inhale. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused at first, then blinking against the fluorescent lights above. His breathing quickened, panic beginning to rise until his gaze locked onto Kane. The boy's entire body softened. He reached out with trembling arms and buried his face in the dog's neck. Kane didn't move, didn't flinch. He simply leaned in, pressing his weight gently against the boy's side. "His name," Theo's voice was hoarse, barely audible. "His name is Kane." Erica stepped into the room, heart pounding. They said he'd carry us when we couldn't walk," Theo murmured. "Said he'd follow orders. But," he paused, his fingers tightening in Kane's fur. "But he saw what they were doing. He saw, and he came back." The room fell silent. Theo glanced up at Erica with eyes too old for his age. "He wasn't supposed to," he whispered. "They locked him up, but he got out, found me, carried me, all the way here." Erica knelt beside the bed, her voice trembling. "Do you know where here is, sweetheart?" Theo nodded slowly. "The place that helps people." Kane remembered. Tears stung Erica's eyes. A war dog, trained for obedience, for silence, had seen evil and made a choice. He had crossed 10 miles of city, not for freedom, but for a child, and the one place he trusted to protect him. The morning after Theo spoke, Erica ordered a full scan of Kane. The chip embedded beneath his shoulder blade returned results in seconds. Military serial number, 3 combat deployments, and an honorable retirement 6 months prior. His final handler's name was redacted. But something didn't sit right. Military dogs didn't just vanish after retirement. They were either reassigned, adopted by their handlers, or placed in certified sanctuaries. Kane, according to the database, had been transferred to a nonprofit called Rebuild Canine, a program claiming to rehabilitate retired service dogs and pair them with veterans or trauma survivors. But when Erica tried to contact the organization, the phone lines were dead. The website had been taken down weeks earlier. No staff, no facility, no traceable funding. Just a P.O. box in rural Nevada and a chain of disconnected shell corporations. Her chest tightened. "This isn't a sanctuary," she told her partner, Agent Marcus Chen. "It's a front." With Theo still recovering and Kane remaining calmly at his bedside, the team dug deeper. What they found chilled them. Over the past year, at least 11 retired military dogs had been adopted through Rebuild Canine, all within 3 months of each other. Most had been high-performing canines with combat certifications and strong obedience records. Perfect candidates, and not one of them had been seen since. Erica stared at the pattern forming. "What better tool for traffickers," she whispered, "than a dog trained to obey, remain calm under pressure, and move through crowds unnoticed? A child being carried through a warehouse district? Past cameras through service alleys? Who would stop a service dog wearing a medical harness?" The horrifying brilliance of it twisted her stomach. Sedate the kids. Strap them onto dogs with forged military vests. Move them from holding to surgery with no questions asked. And Kane? He had followed that plan, until he didn't. He was part of the system, Marcus murmured, and then he chose to break it. Erica looked at Kane, lying quietly beside Theo, alert but peaceful, and something shifted in her. This wasn't a mistake, this was conscience. The kind they said animals didn't have, the kind traffickers didn't plan for. They built a method based on loyalty and obedience. But what they didn't count on was a dog who could recognize evil and refuse to be part of it. By mid-afternoon, the decision was made. Kane had led Theo through 10 miles of unknown streets to the FBI. That wasn't luck. It was navigation born from memory and something deeper, intent. So they gave him the chance to lead again. Outfitted with a lightweight GPS collar and a micro body cam, Kane stood patiently by the FBI vehicle, tail still, breath steady. Erica knelt beside him, resting a hand gently on his neck. "Find them," she whispered. "Show us what you saw." The back door opened, and Kane leapt inside. What followed was nothing short of astonishing. Once they re-entered the urban grid, Kane's demeanor shifted. He began to pace slightly, ears forward, body leaning into turns as if drawing a map from muscle memory. He ignored parks, people, food vendors, even other dogs. His mind was elsewhere, fixed on something only he could see. He led them deep into Denver's industrial district, blocks of shuttered warehouses, cold storage facilities and supply yards. Places no one noticed. Places children could disappear inside and never come out. Then, without hesitation, he stopped. An old brick building, faded signage, steel door, no windows. Kane pressed his nose to the gap beneath the frame and let out a single, sharp bark. Within minutes, tactical teams descended. Erica watched from command as agents breached the entrance. The ground floor mimicked a medical supply warehouse, clean, ordered, almost legal. But the basement told the truth. 3 windowless rooms, each lined with operating tables and overhead lights, storage units humming cold. In the farthest room, 2 girls around 7 and 10, unconscious but alive. IV lines in their arms, surgical markings drawn across their skin. They had been next, and Kane had gotten there just in time. Erica stood at the doorway, the scent of antiseptic clinging to her skin. Her hands trembled. They were prepping them. An agent whispered beside her. They were hours away. She turned toward the hallway, where Kane sat alert, watching every face. He hadn't just found the place. He remembered it. And he came back for the others. The fallout came fast. Theo's testimony, along with the footage from Kane's body cam and the evidence recovered from the warehouse, unraveled what the Bureau had long feared but never proven: a coordinated multi-state organ trafficking ring hiding in plain sight. It wasn't just one facility. It was a network. Doctors with revoked licenses, surgeons from offshore clinics, shell corporations masking supply orders for surgical gear and sedatives, adoption papers forged to reroute missing children across state lines. Every detail, every layer, designed to look just legitimate enough to slip past scrutiny. The children weren't snatched from chaos. They were selected, quietly, efficiently, moved through a pipeline of silence, each one medically pre-processed, sedated, monitored, staged, as if they were parts, not people. And the dogs were the blind spot no one saw coming. Military trained, conditioned to obey, dressed in vests and service tags that deterred questions. They were the perfect couriers, carrying unconscious children through alleys, kitchens, even hospital docks, never noticed, never stopped. Until Kane. He didn't just save Theo. He shattered the illusion that obedience was infallible. He made them visible, and in doing so he broke the system from the inside out. The case made national headlines. But behind the press conferences, the arrests, and the layers of forensic reports, what mattered most was what came after. Theo was reunited with his mother in a hospital room filled with tears, blankets, and trembling hugs. She held him like she'd never let go again. The two girls found in the clinic's basement were also returned home, confused, groggy, but alive. Their families wept in disbelief. For them, rescue had felt like an impossible dream, until it wasn't. But Kane didn't go home. He stayed. By unanimous decision, the FBI created a specialized initiative, one that had never existed before, a child trauma recovery and rescue canine unit. And Kane was the reason. With his calm gaze and unshakable presence, he became more than a dog, he became a bridge. In interview rooms where therapists struggled to reach deeply traumatized children, Kane needed no words. He simply lay nearby, breathing slow, anchoring the room, and the children, they opened up, slowly, honestly, because Kane had been there, and somehow they knew he understood. Erica visited often. Watching Kane work was unlike anything she'd seen. He didn't follow protocol. He felt what each child needed: closeness, space, silence. His instincts were as sharp as any profiler's. But it wasn't training. It was something else, something chosen. Every month, Theo came to visit too. Taller now, laughing more. The shadows in his eyes still flickered at times, but they were no longer consuming. On one particular afternoon, he brought something with him, a folded piece of paper colored with crayon. Erica watched as he handed it to her, a little shy. Inside was a drawing of a boy holding hands with a dog in front of an FBI building. Above it, in careful, slanted handwriting, were the words, "I'm still here because Kane didn't follow orders. He listened to his heart." Erica framed it. It now hangs beside her desk, next to a photo of Kane lying quietly next to a child in recovery. Because in a world full of commands and control, one dog chose compassion, and in doing so, he saved more than lives. He gave them a future. In a world built on systems, commands, rules, structure, we often assume obedience equals virtue. But true courage isn't always about following orders. Sometimes it's about knowing when not to. Kane was trained to comply, to carry out tasks without question. But when he was faced with something no amount of training could justify, he made a choice. Not the programmed one. Not the safe one. The right one. Because not all heroes wear uniforms or flash credentials. Some walk on four legs. Some don't speak, but still manage to be heard. Kane didn't save Theo because someone told him to. He did it because something inside him knew it was wrong to stay silent. He wasn't supposed to care. He wasn't supposed to resist. He wasn't supposed to break protocol. But he did all of that and saved lives in the process. That's what makes him a hero. Not the vest, not the training, the choice.